Oh, so we're live. So let's act like we have some theme music. This where you
Done. Am I hearing glitches?
no.
Was I
I
hearing some
just
skipping, or
no, not at
was
all.
you were you
I,
you were messing with the music?
so we're live. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing, but I was trying to. Okay, I see your senders on, so somebody can see us. I'm trying to get to pivot play so you can see it, because that's where this is going to come up. But anyway, I don't know if we have to wait on that. We can go ahead and just jump into this and get started. But I wanted to get it to you so you could share it out. Yeah, it's kind of wild. Anyway, all right, we'll jump in because we're gonna post this anyway. All right, so I'm Jerry Thompson, and this is who are you?
I'm Sheldon Jackson. Hey everyone.
And we are
I know this guy from somewhere. We're brothers.
right. So at any rate, um, I probably should bring the comments up so if someone says something, I can actually see those. Move that over here.
Anything on my
All right. So
side?
anyway, so let's jump in so we're not on here too long. So we are the tandem that is Optivus Business Solutions. So we are largely an AI based technology firm. Oh, that's great, Sheldon. Yeah,
What's that?
we don't hear that. We don't,
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't hear it on my side. Sorry.
we hear it's
Pretty loud.
anyway.
Pretty bad.
It's pretty grating. But at any rate, so we're we're deep in AI, and one of the things that's come up recently is the impact of artificial intelligence in creative fields, in particular in the space of music. And the more I look into it and the more I talk to people, I'm seeing some very interesting reactions from people. Hence, though, this title of Do We See AI as Friend or Foe, especially when it comes to the creative area. So I want to make this an even conversation, although largely, Sheldon, I think you and I are pretty much agreed on most of this about what this is, but I think it's good to have the conversation. People that I've spoken to, I've gotten very mixed reactions from folks. Do they see it as a good thing or a bad thing? So with that, I'm just going to stop right there. Sheldon, is AI being used in music a good thing or a bad thing? In particular, we're probably talking about Suno, which has gotten a lot of press, SUNO, as this platform capable of doing many things when it comes to music. But let me stop there, Sheldon. What's your thought?
My initial thought is good thing, right? Of course, there are a lot of creatives in the world that may not have avenues or opportunities to express their creativity because traditional channels typically have, kind of guards at the gate as
Hmm.
far as who they let in, who they allow to themselves to the world, their music, their craft, their creativity. And then also there's other barriers such as financial barriers to entry. There's access to certain people with certain talents that you may need to really bolster your creativity or bring it to the level that it could be. So, in my opinion, just out of the gate, initial thoughts in response to your question is it's a good thing because it does open doors for some that may not have otherwise have access.
So let's go. All right, so let's get the brass tacks then. So most people might be familiar that an AI artist in country actually made it to the top of the Billboard charts, right? And it's all AI. It's not even a real person. It's now holding the number one spot. And then what's her name? Nikki Jones, the girl
Yeah, out of
Mississippi,
Mississippi,
out of
Mississippi,
Mississippi, that created Zania
Monet,
Monet,
Zanaya Monet.
um, Zanaya Monet. Okay, and another AI artist created completely from scratch, and now has 5 albums on iTunes. And the last I heard is she got a $3 million contract record deal. And that seems to be rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. As a matter of fact, I saw a segment of an interview with her, and the comment was, "Well, you don't even sing, right?" So let me just stop right there. Is a person disqualified in terms of the integrity of their art if they use these tools to do something they could not otherwise do?
You know what I compare that to? Sampling, right? We've been sampling music for years, especially in the hip hop genre.
Hmm.
And I can tell you, I'm not a skilled keyboard player. I'm not a skilled drummer. But we were putting out music in the year 2000, and it was largely sampled drums, sampled riffs from different records, and things like that. So, does that make me any less qualified to be a hip hop artist?
So it's funny you use that because a common term in music now we say beats, right? Well, I remember when that was almost a derogatory term because it sort of insinuated that the people who were creating them, because they weren't just rhythms, right? It was the rhythms, it was the bass line, it was the melodies, that these are not musicians. And that is not musicianship because, and you know what the term was? Button pushers. They're just button pushers. That's all they're doing. So I think that we've sort of had this up and down with how do we say who or what is credible in this space. I I think it's tough, right? So when we talked about this before, one of the things I mentioned is when I was coming up, one of the early qualifiers was, did you do you read music, right? And so in some circles, you're deemed really musically illiterate if you don't read music, regardless to how developed your ear might be. But as a musician who's come up, in gospel, around R&B, some jazz, neo, especially in gospel, most of that music has never been written down. And if you don't have an ear, you can't play it. So that was the first barrier that I can remember, but I'm also well aware that people have been playing, creating, and enjoying music for centuries before anyone ever thought to write it down anywhere. So
Right.
I think the credibility thing is one that we need to get past, right? So let's make it more personal. So I think I was the one who introduced you to Suno, to a friend of mine. So talk about your experience as a listener first and then as a creator in Suno.
Listener, most of the things that I interacted with in Suno were the things that were actually created by artists, meaning musicians that could play music, had actual live vocals from a real person that were then put into Suno and just enhanced. No different than going to a engineer and having your stuff mastered, right? Um, The enhancements made the vocals more clear, kind of leveled things off and things like that, which I can recall when we were making music. That was a very expensive process, right? It was probably the last piece before you put your music out to the masses, and it was very expensive to get things mastered. So again, there's a financial barrier there that most people trying to break into the music industry wouldn't be able to overcome at times. My first interaction with that, I thought I was amazed, right? I was like, wow, it took something that was either more of a sketch or, kind of an outline and made it something amazing. And then once I started using the application, I started taking some song lyrics that I wrote years ago, right? And putting them into the application, putting in the type of instruments I wanted played, the beats per minute, the type of rhythm, and even to the point of humming a rhythm that I wanted the music to kind of to drive that message home. Whether I wanted acoustic guitar, electric guitar, blending these sounds in that prompt in Suno was very important. It's an important part of being able to create the music. So once I finished that, the first iteration was kind of garbage, because I didn't know much about what I was doing, but it's
Right.
kind of garbage in, garbage out, and that's what happened. But once I understood prompting and understood, okay, that in and of itself is part of the creative process, being able to think about what do I want in this song? What type of drums do I want? Do I want congos? Do I want, a heavy 808 bass drum, or do I want, hi-hats, snaps, all these different components that go into creating a song, even in AI, requires a certain type of ear and creativity.
Right.
I, there will be people, Jerry, that will just type in "I want a song about orange juice," and it'll produce that. But that to me will not produce the type of quality music that you hear from a Zanaya Monet or someone like that.
Right. So it's the thoughtfulness I think that goes into it, and this idea, like you said, you're not a skilled keyboard player, drummer, or whatever, but the ability to describe what you want. And so what I'm thinking about is now the difference between a musician and a creator, right? Because really, what you are more than anything is you're a creator in this space now,
Right,
right?
right,
So do do you feel credible?
absolutely. And in a couple of ways. One, it gets out an art that I've had in my head and on paper for 20 years to other people. And then having people listen to it, give feedback, and say, like, dislike, feedback is feedback to me. The
Right.
other thing is the opportunity to hear this music in the voices of those that we love, like a Tony Braxton or some other artist, and possibly the opportunity to get this music to
Right.
those types of artists who can really now hear your and see your vision for the
Right.
song or for the artwork that you've created. In my opinion, beforehand, giving them just a sheet of paper with some words on it is quite different than bringing that vision to life and then hearing that and being able to
Right.
reproduce that and maybe even take that and make it a song that they can perform around the world. It doesn't always have to end up with a Denia Monet is what I'm getting at. There are so many avenues where you can take the things that you create in Suno and make them into art songs for real artists where you can really show your vision and your concept around the music, how it should sound, how you think about it. And of course people can tweak it and change it and things like that, but at least the core is there. Where before I would find myself trying to, if I wanted to share a song with someone, I would be trying to sing it myself, and you don't want that.
Right.
You know, something I want to bring up too that there's and I wonder where this is going to go. There's an AI actress that's doing movies actually in Europe. Her name is Tilly Norwood, Tilley Norwood. Not a real person, fully AI generated, performing in feature films. So the person that's creating the motion, the scripts, the facial expressions and all the other things that are required to be on a big screen acting, does
Right.
that make them any less credible as well?
Absolutely. No, I'm just kidding. I don't believe it does. But it is a disruptor. So first of all, I see Sandy's on. I see my man Sean. Which dude, I'm still here. So we'll I promise we'll catch up. So here's what I want to do. I want to play a little bit of one of your tunes that you created. This is "Thanks for the Roses." Let me just go ahead and play it, and we can talk about it.
Thanks for the roses you left on my bed. Petals so soft, like the words you never said. They were real and they don't breathe. Like a love that lives in make believe. Did you mean it or was it a show? A garden blooms, but nothing grows. Thanks for the roses, thanks for the thorns, thanks for the nights I felt unborn. You gave me petals, but kept the roots. Thanks for the roses. What's the truth? I watered the garden. I waited for spring. But when it's
All right, so I'm gonna stop right there. I find that very listenable, and it just kind of brings you in, right? There's when I listen to it, there's nothing there that says this was AI. There's nothing that tells me that. But so you had a vision. Did you write the lyrics or did AI write the lyrics? Hmm?
I wrote the lyrics to that.
Okay, all right. So you wrote the lyrics, great, and then it interpreted it, right? Because at some point, then so you're a vibe producer, right?
And
And the
that's a good way
word
to put
for
it.
those who are listening is vibe, VIBE, and that is a common term that is used. So what we do in Optivus, we would be considered vibe coders, meaning we're creating solutions of various types, right? Business solutions, personal productivity solutions, other things using platforms, AI platforms. We do not write any code, none. And these are very, very sophisticated, very credible, secure, high processing business systems that we're creating using these tools. Now, I have a background as a programmer, but I'll be honest, I don't have any appetite to sit and write just lines of code. But I will take the time to lay out an idea, design out a flow, figure out what the use case, all that other wonderful stuff that goes into the process, and then we use that to create these systems. And I think what's interesting with you, Sheldon, like I said, and we'll go back to the music thing. Is like I was kind of raised as a musician and a producer, so all this stuff makes perfect sense to me. You've kind of come into this world. I have a background as a coder. You don't really necessarily have a background as a coder, but you are creating very sophisticated systems. And so I want the people to see that it's possible, but also don't want to overexpress how this is, this is just super easy, anybody can do this, right?
Yeah,
And one of
no.
the things you mentioned with the music thing is it's about the prompting, that's a skill, right? That's your ability to be able to look deep into what you want to do and say, how am I going to explain. It's like if you look at AI as the person on your right hand side that knows everything but at the same time knows nothing, right? And then it's your ability to be able to translate that. So Thanks for the Roses. What was your reaction the first time you heard Thanks for the Roses?
Heard it. I thought, wow, one, because the voice, I had to even get into like the type of voice I wanted. Real milky R&B voice, real
Did you did
soulful,
you did
correct.
you say did you say Milky?
I said milky and I put breathy, right? Because you can, I
Breathy.
wanted them
Okay.
to hear the hear the breathing in some of the words and the emotion, right? And so you have to describe in detail. This is what I'm looking. This is the outcome I'm looking for in this
Mm-hmm.
particular artist, first and foremost, to really bring out the essence of the song and make people feel it. But then with the music, right, I had to get into electric guitar riffs, and not just in the opening segment or the closing segment, but also throughout the song to help emphasize some of the words, certain words within the song, and things like that. So, yeah, the first time I heard it, though, I thought, I'm almost there, right? I need to do something else with the bass guitar. I need to do something else with the drums. I need it to build as it gets closer or moves towards the bridge and towards the end of the song. So adjusting the prompts to force those things to happen within the song was some of the challenge. But at the
Right.
end of the day, my first reaction to it was, "Wow, it's good." And then my next reaction was, how can I make it better? Which is something that you do even in your, real life creative process. As you start to iterate on things that you're creating, you start to say, okay, this is good. This might be MVP, for example, in our world. But what does V1, V2, V3, V4 look like
Right.
on this same thing?
So I think the driving question, probably, and even for the people who are watching this, is probably why are both of these guys inside wearing skull caps? Like, what is wrong with them?
I should have paid my heating bill. No,
Dude, I've been in and out outside, right? You know,
yeah,
I got work to do around here. But we work comfortably. This is whatever comfortable is. So let's switch, and we're going to listen to a piece of one of mine, but it is based on a sketch, right? That was actually played out, right? Bass, drums, keyboard, horns, and then given to Suno, and it's like, let's see what you do with this. But still giving it in instructions, which you saw some of mine. So this is from a sketch that I call Fishy Grits, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. If people like fish with their grits, I'm more of a butter and sugar type guy. But when I did the sketch, it kind of had like maybe it was the grit. That's what it was. But where the
yeah.
fishy came from, I don't know. But here you go. Here's what's crazy. That's the original. That's the original. Hold on, I gotta go find I gotta go find the other one. How do you download the wrong song, dude? That's crazy. How'd I do that? All right, so I need to find the this is the cover. This is crazy. And doing this in real time just shows what happens when you got rookies doing this stuff. I'm listening to it. It's like, oh, that's not bad. Well, but that's what the original sounds like. So let me see if I can find. Um, uh, that looks like the original still. All right, so we might have to come back to this. So okay, so while I'm looking for this, so let's let's let the genie out of the bottle, right? I shared a video with you earlier because again, some of the musicians I talked to, like this is taking all the creativity out of the process, and of course the thing is like, what happens when you want to see these people live? I'm of the opinion that most of the people that we enjoy will never see them live. So I don't know that it matters necessarily. Just like most of the movie stars, I enjoy their movies. I'm never going to go see them in person, right? Just because they're on Broadway don't mean I'm going to go to New York and do that. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's, but I understand it, right? I really do enjoy live music, and we're not going to see some of those people in that arena. And so, but I think the cat is out of the bag because I mean, the video we saw earlier, somebody who's very known in the music industry, basically saying what he said in the last year, every
Hmm.
studio session that he was in used AI
Use AI.
at some
Yep.
point, right? And so some people are looking at this as sort of like some sacred ground that you stand on if you're banging out all the beats, which by the way, and I think I put out a video earlier about this. I kind of look at a lot of people who kind of got their panties in a bunch on this. It's like hypocrites. because I remind people that it was my generation when we were younger musicians. We were the ones who shut down the big studios because the equipment got more affordable. It got smaller. We could now do this stuff at home. And so we did, right? And so, like early coming up, I was involved in a lot of live gospel recordings. So, you did a live thing and then you go in the studio and that's where you fix things or you add things, correct the bass line, add the horns, the strings. Or we weren't bringing in orchestras for that. I was doing that stuff in my home office and just taking it back to the studio. And now we can do all of that at home. Like you mentioned, sampling and beats. You can do this stuff on your phone. Most of the stuff I've done in Suno, I've done on my phone, right? As a matter of fact, the interface itself, I find it very cumbersome to use. I don't understand it yet. Um, so talk about that from
But
an
you
integrity
know,
standpoint.
so to that point, I think in any space, uh, disruption is uncomfortable, right? You have to look at things different. I mean, how many people had VCRs in their homes when Blockbuster shut down? They still got the cabinet with all the VCR tapes in it when they can simply download Netflix and stream it. The
Hmm.
same movies that they have in their shelves. Disruption is what technology does, and good technology typically will disrupt or change an industry. So when you talk about the big studios where they had to bring in the full drum sets and the guitarist and the orchestra section and play all this stuff and sing live to, your keyboards, your MPCs, and your different instruments where you could sample and download drum beats, download music notes, keyboards where you can program the sound you want and play it, to now soon it's all disruption. And
Hmm.
until we embrace disruption, I think those who don't embrace it, let me say this, with something we talk about in the business side, they're going to be left behind, um,
Yeah,
off
no
the
question.
bus. The one thing I like when I listen to the video from the guy that said, "Hey, every studio I've been in leverages AI." It's like saying if I don't write an email but I have AI generated response, then I'm not a real responder to an email. It's what it is. It's the way of the world now.
Yeah.
I think we have to embrace it. And the same thing with, okay, I'm working on this hook and I can't quite get it where I want it. So let me pop this in AI and see if I can generate more ideas on how I can arrange this. It's being used in that way already. It's being used in a way to say, I need to enhance a bass line. I need to figure out, what's missing, or what if I tried this instrument or this same song with a trap beat instead of an R&B beat, or all those things are happening using AI, and it allows people to expand their creativity, hear things in a different way, and possibly then produce
All
something
right.
other than what they would have
So,
originally
so I
produced.
want, so I want
So,
to say two things. So one is, because this is the second time you said it that way, and it made me think of a term we use all the time, MVP, which means minimum viable product, which means how much of something do I need to build? Usually we're talking about applications to prove that it works, right? To give it, a meaningful use case and say, okay, it can solve this problem or it can enhance this or it can make this thing more productive. And so really part of what you're talking about is using AI in music for MVPs, minimum viable products. I want to test, I want to see, and you can do those things very cheap and
yeah,
fast, right? And what I always tell people, the first thing you get with AI is speed.
yep.
You get speed and the capability to do stuff you couldn't do. All right, so I think I have the right fishy grits. Let's listen to a little bit of this one. So that's a little bit of
That's pretty
fishy
nice.
grades. But the
Yeah.
crazy thing is, and a buddy of mine just called me because I sent a couple of them to him. He's like, I can't believe how well it matched the original pattern, right? And one of them I uploaded says, yeah, this has a very, A, B, B, A structure, like, A section, B section, chorus. Like it's actually able to identify these things. So I, I'm encouraging people who are in this field, in this area, get these tools, learn these tools, become experts in these tools. Your industry has just been redefined. I know they didn't invite you to the meeting. You didn't get to vote. Well, you do get to vote. You can choose to
You
participate
know,
or not participate. Go ahead.
let me ask you a question though, as a musician who I think you can play many instruments, such as you can play the little bell thing that you ring and the shaker, but so do you hear anything in your music that was reproduced or enhanced, I should say, by AI that you couldn't do live or have someone do live?
So there's certainly some directions that I would not have gone in because they just are not my style. But they're enhancements in the same way that I look forward to playing with live musicians. It's okay, here's the bass line. But then to hear what that bass player does with that bass line, that's the thing that makes music
Hmm.
enjoyable. Some things you want locked to a specific structure. And I think it even does a great job of identifying structure and then places where you have space to do some things, right? I think it does a good job of that. And if it doesn't, and I look at me as the prompter, how well did I describe what it needs to do as it goes section to section? So I I'm enjoying that piece of it. I thought what you were going to ask is what happens when it misses something. Because also when you talk about my style, there's certain
Yeah.
nuances which like the way that I might use chromatics or half step movements either as whole chords or pieces of chords, and those things are laid down very intentionally with the idea that they should be taken forward, and it doesn't always get that. But I also
Yeah.
recognize I didn't make any effort. I didn't make any effort to share that out. Hold up, my buddy just said it's a generative force moving at the pace of thought and creativity. With its training data, it's like inviting the entire world to improvise alongside you. It removes the barriers of entry. That's our show,
Absolutely.
folks. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
It's nothing else needs to be. No,
You
so
know,
so here's a. Go ahead.
there is one thing I want to talk about though. In one of the videos, one of the individuals mentioned that it kind of robs the black community of its hold on certain types of music, R&B, hip hop, because he mentioned you can have a kid somewhere in Asia or anywhere that's creating R&B music and sounding like our black artists, and think, but I think that's already happening. I think it's the world is adopting. It always adopts our culture, our music, and things like that. It's just it may happen at a faster pace with AI, but
I
it
mean,
happens.
do do we not have people that think that Elvis is like somehow like the ground zero for rock and roll? It's like stolen.
Yeah, not really. Exactly. Exactly.
Um, and we could go on and on with that, right? You could if you talk about our contributions in music, our contributions in science, just as inventors, you go down a large list of things and you see us not getting paid for our contributions or our genius. But again, what we have seen in this sort of current environment is these tools are available. They are reasonable, right? Even before, I guess I guess these Black Friday sales or whatever with Suno. In terms of what this thing does, you're talking about like $300 a year.
Yeah.
That's insane. And so the accessibility
Insane.
and the affordability of the tools across the spectrum, because we're not just talking about what you can do in music, we're talking about what you can do in graphic arts, what you can do in video, what you could do with audio, what you can do in the app space, what you can do in the app. Like all these tools are out there. They are so affordable. And one of the things that I think that we enjoy is showing people the power of these tools, not just in the products that we build, but just in terms of these are things that just make your life better, right? Like you think about Me Spenta, which is a platform that you built, and or Complete Prompt, Future Lens, Snap, Stride, and now Alter, which we'll come back another time and talk more about what we're building. But if we had to, as a new company, go out and hire the resources to build all the stuff that we've built, how much would we have spent? Right? I know I've been in this for a while. I know I would have spent $750,000 to $1 million in the last year just on people resources. Not only are we not having to spend that money, we have a full portfolio now of products, and we've been formed for what, 4 months, five, something like that. I mean, for us to be able to iterate and create solid solutions that quickly and that reasonably, right? I think is kind of speaks to what this era is. And so, to any musician, any singer, any writer, because remember, Nikki Jones, who created Zania, is it Zania? So whatever,
Zanaya Monet.
Zanaya
Yeah, hard
Monet.
to
She's a
hard to
poet.
say. Yeah.
She had been writing poetry for years. As a matter of fact, the first thing I heard from Suno was something that was done by a poet. They took their poetry and put it in Suno, and out came this amazing song. What am I supposed? I'm supposed to hate on that? I'm I'm not going to do that. I'm
Can't do it.
sorry. I'm going to give you credit for being a creator. And before we close, the other thing I would say is, if you're a LinkedIn person, go to LinkedIn and go to Optivus Business Solutions. Go to our page, find the John Henry article. If not, drop a comment here, or inbox one of us, DM us with your email address. I'll send it to you so you get to see it. Because the thing is, what we want to protect is toil, human labor, hard work. Again, I know how many late nights I've spent in studios. I know how many late nights I've spent, trying to debug code. Right? It just got easier. So we put the credit in the laborer, but we don't respect the creators. And I think that we should be creators. We don't have to be laborers. I'd rather work smart than work hard. And again, these tools are available. I've never seen sort of an inflection in technology that makes this sort of capability so ubiquitous and accessible by everybody, but then at prices people can afford. That's insane to me. Like, we've never seen this. If people don't see this as the current gold rush and figure out how is this impacting my world, what I do, what I know, or what I may have wanted to do, like you said, you may not be all these other things musically, but you're a creator,
Right.
right?
You
Because of
know,
these tools.
and there's just a couple things I want to say in closing. One is around where we sit on the spectrum of being able to contribute to these to AI. For example, I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with the person that said, "Hey, I don't know how to vibe code. I'm not a coder. I'm a doer. I do tasks every day. Where would I fit in this new dynamic?" And I explained to them that as a user, you have more information than anybody. If you're a professional that performs a task every day, you're the information hub for how these prompts should be built, how these applications should work, and you should be talking to and working with coders to make sure these things happen and that they work correctly. One.
Absolutely.
The other the other point I made to a friend of mine who has been trying to break into the music industry from a management standpoint. He said, I don't like the AI artist. He said, I have an artist. She's in Vegas. She can sing her butt off. And that's what he said to me. I said, how many songs does she have? Oh, she has about 20 songs. I said, well, how long would it take you and how much would it cost you to produce those songs and get them out into the marketplace? He had no clue, but he said, yeah, that's what I need. I need investors. I need all this money. I can't afford to do it. I said, that's exactly what I'm telling you about this particular tool. She can still sing those songs. You can still do that music arrangement. and you can probably have 20 songs produced in 2 weeks for less than $300 a year. But if you want to go
Hmm.
pay musician studio time, engineers for mastering, and you go right ahead, and I'll see you in 5 years when those songs finally get done. So
Yeah,
speed to market is everything in this competitive space, in any competitive space, right? So I think it's important, like you said, embrace it, learn it, spend the money to, I've spent money on tools I don't like just to learn that I didn't like them, but it was worth it, right?
right. Yeah,
So that's where my
yeah.
head's at right now.
And I think it very much is the. It's not the big will eat the small. It's the fast will eat the slow. That's that's really where we are. And so when we'll come back in another video and talk about how this translates to what we do, right? Because in this essence, we are vibe producers, right? But we are very much vibe coders, um, sort of vibe strategists in a way. I mean, we have some very interesting ways that we use these tools, but we use them to bring value to the people we work with. And so I think that they appreciate that. And it's just, this is the current age, right? So with that, so we want to go out with some thanks for the roses, or we want to go out with fishy grits. Which one you want?
Either one, buddy. Whatever your button, your mouse is closest to.
It kind of feels like it's equidistance. I don't.
Let's go out
I
with
mean,
fishy grits, man. It's a
all
little
right,
more
go with some
exciting, you know. Thanks for
fishy
the roses
grits.
can be kind of sad.
It's not a funeral song.
No, it's
What is
not,
that?
not quite.
Is that thanks
Kind
for the
of.
roses? Is that was that the same as like a guy leaving like the money in an envelope on the nightstand? What is thanks for the roses?
The failed attempt at us apologizing by sending roses to Our Lady.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I thought it was for services rendered. I didn't know.
Oh, shit. Oh, that's
I
hilarious.